Welcome. You're listening to The Aligned Self, Conversations in Creating a Conscious and Abundant Life. This is Daniel Denovi. I'll be your guide and host. Let's see just where we can take this. Hello, friend, and welcome into the conversation. This topic I'm going to talk about today has been gnawing at the back of my mind for a while now. I know that I need to talk about it, and there's some aspects of it I'm not going to recount only because I don't want to revisit the energy. What I'm going to talk about is how to manifest in the midst of a breakdown. Now, at first glance, you wouldn't think that I need to define what a breakdown is, but I'm going to anyways. It's essentially when everything goes south, as a series of catastrophes occur. The crap hits the fan. One thing begets another. I've had several of these in my life, and early on, I responded in a less than desirable way because I started doing stuff in the midst of the catastrophe. Now, what's important to realize that in the midst of a breakdown, when everything seems to be going wrong, when, hit with several blows in a row, is that you don't want to immediately start creating from that space because you're focusing on everything that's going wrong. And granted, sometimes you do need to perform triage. You have to stop the hemorrhaging, stop the bleeding, stop the leaks, whatever's going on. But then, when you have a moment of clarity or an opportunity, you need to sit down and meditate. Yes, you heard me right. I said sit down and meditate. You see, the impulse is to start doing stuff right away. Oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. And sometimes that works, sometimes. But it needs to come from an inspired place. Because when you're in the midst of the breakdown, you're all too aware of what you don't want. And it's possible that you could create many more detours, more struggle getting out of that breakdown than you would if you were to center yourself, get present to who you really are, where your power really lies, and then take inspired action. You see, there's a misnomer or a myth that when you're high vibe and you're flying high and everything is going to turn out exactly the way you want it to. Well, it doesn't necessarily turn out the way you want it to. Sometimes it turns out the way you think you deserve. Other times you're being set up for a bigger opportunity. And so before you get ready to step up to a new stage, up to a new platform, you need to allow the old edifice, the old foundation to fall away. The Tarot deck has a card that represents this. It's the Tower card. And during the Tower card, it's destruction. In the Hindu religion, it's Shiva, the destroyer. It comes in and burns everything clean. The phoenix is reborn out of the ashes. This is exactly why the phoenix is my logo. Now, to point back to what I said early on, I'm not going to recount a lot of the details. I'll speak from personal experience, but I'm not going to talk about all the things that went wrong at a particular point in time. I'll just tell you that at several points in my life, I've experienced a series of breakdowns. And it could be a loss of money, a loss of a client, sometimes big checks that I was expecting to come in. Suddenly they're not there, and I have a mortgage and bills to pay. And, so suddenly it feels like everything's going wrong. Another time, much earlier in my life, was when I lost a job. It was a career choice or career path I thought I was on at the time, and something happened. I talked about it in a previous episode. The facility where I was burglarized, and I was accused of negligence. Now, that all came out that not to be true in the end, but, I was let go because I was the fall guy. I was the low man on the totem pole, so I was the easy one to release. And at the time, I was newly married, and when I went home and told my wife that I lost my job, she was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I was like, I don't know. Something will come along. I'll work it out. And then I went to bed. And even though I didn't know it consciously, what I did at the time was exactly what I needed to do. I needed to separate myself apart from the situation. I knew who I was, I knew what my capabilities were, and I knew that it was going to work out. But even so, at the time, I wasn't aware, not consciously, of law of attraction. But this was very much in alignment with the practices of law of attraction and manifesting. Now, law of attraction is like energy attracts like energy. What I didn't know at the time was being let go from that position actually set me up for a bigger opportunity. And it seemed like, something was going wrong. But in actuality, everything was going right. But you need to be aware of the seduction of the dark side. And that is when things start going wrong, we have a tendency to start focusing on things going wrong. Why me? Why now? Oh my God, what am I going to do? This is terrible. There's this narrative that we tell, this story of our demise. But when we're in the midst of this breakdown, this is exactly where we need to stop, gather our wits, gather our focus, and we begin focusing on who we really are. Like I said earlier, you are pure energy. You are the field of pure possibility. This is just a play of consciousness. This is what I began telling myself the last time I went through this type of thing. But in the midst of the breakdown, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to stop. You're supposed to rest. You're supposed to gather your wits, focus your thoughts, align your energy with what you want, not with what you don't want. Like I said, that's the seduction. That's because it's right there in front of you. It's all these other responsibilities and commitments that are screaming at you. Handle me, handle me. Do something, do something. See, everyone's oriented around action. You got to do something. You got to go out and get something. You got to go, make it happen, make it rain. Well, let's pause that thought. Let's take a law of attraction approach. This is where you want to take a nap. This is where you want to go do something else. Go for a walk. Celebrate even. Plan a big dinner. Plan a big meal. You might have $100 left in your checking account, and now's the time to splurge on maybe a bottle of wine and a gourmet meal. The objective is to enjoy yourself, celebrate your life, celebrate possibility. And if you feel this shift in your energy, then you can start creating from there. Start thinking about, what do I want to create? What does this now make possible? What do I now have an opportunity to do that I did not have before? See, the last time this happened to me, I wanted to start doing stuff right away. That's the seduction. I wanted to get into action. I wanted to shift the energy. And I realized that in that space that I was, in that moment, heavy, burdensome, felt like the weight of the world was on me, that was the worst place to create from, the worst state of mind to create from. And so what did I do? I took a nap. And then I went for a long walk. Because every time I go for a walk, it changes my state, changes my mind. Things just seem a lot lighter, a lot more wonderful. And then I sit down and I sit with my thoughts. You see, in that moment, everything's all right. In the present moment, not looking forward or backward, in that very moment, I can be present with what's possible. But the moment I start projecting out in the future, thinking about the commitments, thinking and wondering, how am I going to pull it together? Like I have to do something. I'm leaning, law of attraction, I'm going to lean on the universe to do the heavy lifting. And so my job right now is just to get present to feeling good. I want to remember who I really am. So I begin saying something like this, and these are generalized statements, and you can think of it as a concentric circle, or like Target, the Target logo, circles within circles. And so we start out at the outer circle, and we start saying global statements, things that are easy to agree with. Things like everything in the universe is energy. And so energy is everything. And so I am aligning my energy to feeling good. I can do that. In this moment right now, just being present, I can feel good. I can choose to feel good, unreasonably so. You see, most people say you don't have a reason to feel good. All hell's breaking loose around you. And you are partying, you're having a gourmet meal, you're taking a nap. No, I'm setting the stage for something wonderful to happen. You see that breakdown that just occurred? That's history. That happened already. I can't change that. I mean, it's ancient history. It makes no difference whether it was 5 minutes ago or 50 years ago. The past is the past. My point of power is the present moment. And I'm curious, bringing up the feeling of curiosity and wonder how the universe is going to conspire to get me to the other side. I know it will, and I lean into that knowing, and I trust the universe. And then I closed my eyes again, and I began focusing on my breath. In the present moment, I can just be aware of my breath, the flow of breath moving in and out of my body. I think of the oxygen coming into my body, feeding my cells, creating new cells. Life goes on within me. The birds are still singing. The rivers are still flowing. The beat goes on. And sometimes this is enough to get me on the straight and narrow, get me focused on what I want to create, focused on feeling good. But if for some reason I cannot let go of the circumstances, the details of, the breakdown, the current things that are going wrong or seem to be going wrong at the moment, I draw attention to it. I state the obvious. I point to the elephant in the room. I'll say something like, yes, I did just lose $20,000. Yes, that client that was supposed to come through backed out. Yes, I don't have any money to pay the bills at the moment, but I wonder what's going to come up for me to move forward. I wonder how the universe is going to conspire on my behalf. I'm sure it will show up in ways that I cannot even comprehend at this moment. And so do you hear what I just did in that example? I acknowledged and I pointed to the facts, so to speak, or what I was aware of. Yes, I lost $20,000. Yes, that client backed out. Yes, I'm in the hole for thousands more. So it's like I acknowledge the problems and I talk about what's now possible. Because if I was to strictly go to what's possible, that icky feeling would still be residing in the basement. I would still be aware of the things that are going on off to the side, behind the curtain. But once I state the obvious, I can let it go. Because then it's not nagging at my mind. I acknowledged it, and then I can release it and start creating from something new. Obviously, you don't know how you're going to get out of the situation. And you state that fact as well. I don't know how this is going to resolve itself. In fact, I don't have a clue. But I am trusting the universe is going to come through for me, that the angels are conspiring on my behalf. Thank the universe that they're all on my side, working on my behalf, behind the scenes, bringing things together. Synchronicities are occurring as I speak. I can't see it from here, and I'm okay with that. I trust the process. Because sometimes we forget just how crafty we are, how resourceful we are, how amazing we are when we're in the midst of a breakdown. I can remember years ago, a friend of mine came to me saying, my marriage is ending. It's over. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm panicking. She was beside herself. She just realized that she could no longer sustain herself in the marriage that she was in. And she was scared to death on what was on the other side. She didn't know. And so what did I do? I acknowledged her current state. I understand you're scared that you don't know what's on the other side of this decision. It's okay. Let's say that I make an arrangement with you 1 year from today to have you meet me in Ortonville, Michigan, at Joe's Cafe at 1 o'clock. Could you do it? Would you make that agreement? And she thought for a second and said, yeah, I can make that agreement. I can figure it out, I guess. I can find a map or use GPS. And most people would, no matter where you live in the world, whether you've ever heard of Ortonville, Michigan, it's a real place. And I don't know if Joe's Cafe is there, but If there was, you could find it. No matter where you are in the world, we could make an arrangement, and you could actually bet me $10,000 that you would make it there on time at 1 o'clock. You would figure it out. In fact, you could probably hang back for 10 months and not even look at a map, not even consider arriving at Joe's Cafe at 1 o'clock in Ortonville, Michigan, 1 year from today. But you would know in the back of your mind you have this thing going, and once you have the impetus to figure it out, you'd Google it. You'd look up on the map. Where is it? How can I get there? How many different ways can I get there? I could fly. I could rent a car. You could drive a car. You could take a boat, take a hot air balloon, maybe even a bicycle. And if you really plan it out right, you could hike it rather than take a bike. There's a number of different ways that you could arrive at that destination on time, at the right place. You could figure it out, could you not? You see, most things are not catastrophic. Most things are just items that you need to handle, step by step, item by item. You line them up one at a time, and especially when you try and look at the entire enchilada all at once, the whole pizza pie, and think of eating it all at once, it's more than too much. It's overwhelming. But when you consider that it just takes bite by bite, moment by moment, step by step, and you don't even have to eat the whole pizza all in one sitting. Cold pizza is good later on. In fact, the days when I was single, I would often get an extra large pizza and eat off that thing for 3 days. And so you can always figure it out. There is nothing that you cannot handle if you break it down into small enough steps. But again, we're not in the doing first. We want to get aligned with the energy. So back to my meditation, back to me thinking that everything in the universe is energy. So energy is everything. I can shift this when I shift my energy. And I would focus on my energy. I focused on my breathing. I focused on relaxing. I focused on the present moment. And my job was just to become as vacant as possible, to let go of any thoughts and just become very, very relaxed. And then I would wait or be open to receive inspiring thoughts, inspiring action. And I can remember out of this meditation, it felt at the time like everything was going wrong. I got inspired to create a new product. I created a new coaching product, and I offered it to 4 or 5 people that I knew or imagined might be open to it, might be receptive to it. And 3 people took advantage of it, and all my troubles were immediately solved. Another time I had a bill come in that was more than I expected, was totally unexpected, and I didn't have it at the time. But I felt something would show up. And a client came in that had not been working with me for pretty much of a year or so and said, I think I want to get some coaching again. So we made an agreement, and that bill was paid a day before it was due. But I was definitely leaning on the knowing that the universe has my back. Everything is always working out for you, even though it doesn't seem so at the moment. All these breakdowns are happening for your greater good. I firmly believe that it just sets you up for that next level, this next tier. And when you can view it that way, frame it that way, that is always working out for you. The universe has your back. You see, you have to remember when all hell's breaking loose that in this moment right now, you're okay. In this moment, in this very moment right now, there's nothing you have to do. There's nowhere you have to be. You can just focus on feeling good. You can focus on leaning into the energy of the universe. And then once you get the vibe right, once you connect with the vibe, then you turn it over to the management. And you say something like, I don't know how you're going to accomplish this. I don't know how you're going to solve this, but I have faith in you. And so right now, I'm going to relax because I know you're on the job. And so you do sit back every time that you're tempted to take action that's not inspired. You stop yourself. You say, nope, I know this is not in my best interest. It's coming out of scarcity. I'm taking action out of fear that if I don't take action, something's going to go wrong. This is when I have to take a step back, take a breath, release control, surrender to the operation, surrender to the universe. And then you say, I'm open for guidance. I'm open for inspired action. And I know that everything's working out for me. I know that there are forces seen and unseen that are working on my behalf. I know this is true. So when do you do this? You do it in the midst of a breakdown, in the midst of your marriage dissolving. You do it in the midst when you're losing your job or your business is falling apart. Like everything is screaming from externally, handle me, handle me, handle me. You take a step back, take a nap, take a walk, relax, get your center, get focused. You know the drill. It's when demands out there are telling you you must do something. Stop and get aligned with the energy. And in the midst of the breakdown, you manifest from a clear space, disconnected from the breakdown, disconnected from what's going on around you. You have a sense of centeredness, of poise, equanimity in the midst of chaos. And you create from there. Remember, at the center of your being, you are no thing. You are nothing. And in being nothing, you have the ability to be anything, to be one with everything. The universe is made up of only energy. And so energy is everything. Until next time, this is your friend and host, Daniel Danovi, urging you to follow your bliss. Live your life from inner signals. Be inner directed. That's what this is all about as you engage in the epic adventure.